Hello there. On this video I will open up the box I ordered from Bourbonmoth. He made a video where he built the Universal Jig or whatever it was called, and it seemed interesting. I bought it with my own money. This might feel like a paid ad or something, but my channel is very small. The guy doesn't even know that I exist. But I will test this out, see what's inside, and I'll probably do the same thing he actually did on the video, which is building a box. So I started to think that I've been building furniture now for about 3 years as a hobby. I'm still a hobbyist. I've never built a simple box. So I will test this jig, build a box. Let's see how it works out. And as I mentioned, it might feel like a paid ad. Obviously, I am opening the box with the bourbon blade, which I bought from them as well. So just want to support the channels I watch. So let's see what's in. I will show the unboxing and assembling the jig in pretty quick way. As part of the package, as you will see soon, is an instruction paper. I didn't use that much because part of the paper there is a QR code which will take you to Jonathan Katzmoses' video, about 30 minutes, going through all the details and tips how to assemble this thing. I was checking from the timestamps of my recordings. It took me roughly 1 hour to assemble this, and I would guess that 15 minutes of that was me watching the video. So if I would have checked that video before and then started to assemble, I would guess you could assemble this in 40 minutes, 45 minutes or something like that. But anyway, super simple. The way it starts is by assembling the first piece, and the instructions are very good. There's pre-made slots for everything. On the video they explain very well what things are important in which phase, how to make sure that everything will be square as part of the assembly. That's why I'm using my table saw table here, because that is flat. So this is an easy way to make sure that these first support pieces will be square, because it is obviously very important that everything is square when you build a jig like that. And I think that's one of the biggest values of this pre-built, pre-made jig, is that because everything is pre-drilled, pre-done, it is super easy to make sure that everything is flat and square and ready to be used once you are done with it. The next phase was to clamp the jig to my table saw fence, and here it is pretty important not to over tighten the clamps, as you see me testing that I can still move them, because if you over clamp it, it might be twisted or it just gets too tight and you wouldn't be able to move it with the fence. The tape I added does help with it, because it will give a bit of tolerance once the jig is complete. Then it's mainly done by screws, which is good, because if there's ever a case where you, for example, change your table saw to a new one, you can take it apart and reassemble it with the new fence that's coming with the new table saw, which is something that I will do in future. So I have ordered a new table saw. Hopefully I will get it in few months, and I will make a video about it once it's here. But now I made a mistake. I took off the clamps and then I realized I actually forgot these 4 screws. So if you buy this jig, don't do it like me. Make sure to follow the instructions. They were very clear, but I just didn't read them properly. So this was just my mistake. Not a big thing, but that's me trying to do things too quickly without reading the instructions. With this, most of the assembly is already done. I was checking that everything was staying square at every single face, because as mentioned there is the option on taking it apart and reattaching it, but in my case it was square. Then basically the last thing that I needed to do was to attach the T-tracks to the main part of the jig that I will be using a lot on this build. I did buy the accessories as well. You can buy the basic jig without all the accessories, but I really wanted the elephants and I really wanted the spline jig because I will be using them on this video. But here you just see me very quickly attaching the whatever that piece is called to the jig, and as mentioned earlier, super easy and super quick because there's ready-made slots for everything. No need to measure anything, you just kind of click things in place and then you're pretty much done with it. But as mentioned, for me I did buy the elephants as well. Something I have never built myself, I have never used an elephants before, but as you will see on this video, it's quite handy. I mean, there's always many ways you can do different cuts and different things, but it surprised me how handy it was, and I'm sure that I will be using these elephants in future builds as well. But now that the jig was complete, I quickly milled a piece of ash that I had that will make majority of the box that I will be building. And as mentioned in the beginning, I have never ever built a box before. But here I'm really kind of following what Bourbonmoth did. So using the jig as much as possible, cutting the miters. Again, could you do this with a miter saw or just a normal table saw without the elephants? Of course. But the point here for me was that I really want to test the jig, see if it's useful or is it a gimmick. I will give my final verdict at the end. What you see me doing here is cutting the slots or the dados that I will be using for the bottom panel and the lid as well. And again, regarding the lid, I'm using the jig again to make these cuts, which would be pretty difficult to do without a jig of this kind. Now, I have built a similar jig in history when I built my 4-eyes spider table. So, as with everything, could you build the jig yourself? Of course, but I think the value comes from having it super square and very easy to assemble, very easy to attach the accessories and use the various things you can do with it. But the box itself will be super simple. So you see me here just doing the normal tape technique and then adding glue and attaching the bottom panel and the lid, and the end result for the time being will be a box that cannot be opened, but I'm sure many people have seen how these boxes are made, so I will be obviously cutting it open and making sure that the box can be opened. But again, the point of this video is not really about the box itself. I think I spent like maybe 2 to 3 hours overall for the box itself, which turned out okay. I mean, it's not the best box you have ever seen, but the point is using the jig, testing it out. So here I'm using the spline jig or the spline accessory for the jig for cutting the slots, and I will be using a bit of purple heart to add the splines. I think it gives a nice contrast, but I didn't take it on a video, but I just milled a piece of purple heart that I'm now here inserting to the slots, which I cut with the spline attachment. Very simple thing, but then again I think it adds a nice detail to the final product. And once those are dry, again there's many ways that I could cut these. I could use my bandsaw or cut it by hand. But like Bourbonmoth, I wanted to test out the elephants, and this was super accurate, super quick. And while it might feel like an overkill to use the elephants for this kind of cut, I actually really liked it. It's probably quicker than any other way, and it is super accurate. Can't even pronounce anything when done this way. So I will surely use this technique in future as well when I'm cutting splines. Then I gave it a quick sanding. I just did an 80, then I did water popping and final sanding with 120. Because again, the point was not to build the best box ever. And then I cut the box open, and I mean, you could use it like this, but I don't really like that the lid just moves freely. So I kind of did a quick and dirty way and milled a piece of ash and attached it to the lid on the other side, just to get a nice friction fit and make sure that when you put the lid on, it doesn't move anywhere. And as I mentioned, I built this very quickly. I didn't want to clamp this and wait for 30 minutes. So I used the traditional wood glue and CA glue with an activator trick, which basically means that I could continue with the build in like 30 seconds. So just for this kind of thing, I didn't see any value in clamping it up and waiting. And anyway, it was around midnight when I started to finalize the piece. I did come back the next morning to do the last adding finish and that part, but I mean, using the jig, building a box from start to finish, somewhere around 2 to 3 hours. I'm happy. I mean, I think the jig works. It is worth it. You will see me talking about it very soon, but here just adding the last pieces of finish to the box, and then I'm basically done. So there it is, my first box. I mean, it's not the prettiest box, but it works. I will give it to my daughter. She's 10, I'm sure she will be happy. Whatever she will hide there. But this video was not really about building a box. It was about the jig. And I didn't test all the accessories. There's gazillion things you can do with it. But with this initial testing, using the elephants, using the other parts, is it worth it? Yes. I mean, could you build it yourself? Again, yes, but it was super easy to assemble. It's not that expensive. As Cats Moses says on the installation video, it's dead square. Everything is ready. So if you have been thinking about it, coming from a beginner / beginner plus woodworker, absolutely worth it. So I'm happy.